What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the third mixtape by The Weeknd. Basically, this product is called Echoes of Silence, and it came out in the late fall of 2011. So the thing with this particular product is just the fact that this is the third of a trilogy of mixtapes that The Weeknd put out in 2011. It's a pretty good pitch. All of these were free as far as those pitches going to happen. House of Balloons is the first one that came out in March of that year. Then it was Thursday from August of 2011, and then this one capped off the trilogy. So it's a pretty good pitch. All of these mixtapes I've given a pretty heralded score. Now, initially, this was the one I listened to the least back in the days, back in the early 2010s and mid 2010s, as far as those pitches kind of happen. I do know at least a couple songs off this particular project, like Next and Echoes of Silence, that I really enjoy, but it just took me a little bit longer to really get the affability behind this particular project here. But it is another classic, basically, I'd have to say, just the concept behind it. Out of the 9 songs on this particular mixtape, I wound up recommending 8 of them, so there's really only one song I don't recommend in any fashion, I'd have to say, just within the concept of it. But then on the trilogy album that came out in 2012, where he re-released his 3 mixtapes and then put out a bonus song on each of the original mixtapes, that particular song, which is that particular new song, which is called Till Dawn, Here Comes the Sun, I don't recommend that song either. But for the most part, this is a pretty sure classic. I want to say about with each one of these trilogy mixtapes that I reviewed, I think I wound up recommending 8 out of 9 as far as those pitches gonna happen. But I just would have to say it's kind of, I don't remember if I gave Thursday. I want to say I might have given. I know I gave Thursday over a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. That's pretty much what this particular product's gonna get. I mean, the problem with it is with 9 songs, not recommending every single one. It's just a little bit more where it kind of slices the concept behind it as far as giving it like a classic score. But I do look after just the quality of it. It is going to get over like a 9.5 out of 10. So it's a pretty good pitch. This is another excellent type 1. The thing about this particular one is just the fact that it has like some new styles behind it. It's not quite as morose or quite as syrupy as like House of Balloons, and it's not as malaised as House of Balloons. It's not quite, the beats are not quite as emphatic, and overall this like neo R&B type stuff of like, or at least like more trendy R&B type stuff with Thursday as far as those pitches can happen. No Drake on this particular product. It's the differential type tone stuff. It's not quite as sad this time. I look after it. It's definitely moody, but it's just not quite as much wailing, just within the sense of quite as much emo R&B as far as those pitches would kind of happen. I do definitely feel like House of Balloons definitely had that malaise about it, and Thursday definitely had like the consolidation of just more social outings just within the pitch behind like that same moroseness, just with a little bit more spice of just like some out and about. But I look after this one, this is more like arena. This one definitely takes like some trendy kind of one. Echoes of Silence definitely takes like some appeals of just more arena R&B, and I just look at just a little bit louder, a little bit more bravado towards it, a little bit more looming and ominous. I would definitely feel like it's definitely the more ghastly one of the 3. And it also has some pretty good winter brush on here as well. I definitely feel like between like the months of like mid-late September to about the first half of March, I'd say some excellent type concepts for the holiday season as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's an excellent type concept there. Real good appeal. Easy kind of steal. This particular mixtape is free, I'd have to say. So it's just an excellent concept. But there was one single out this particular mixtape. I look after it, Initiation. Didn't know that this was the single back in the day, but I look after this pretty good pitch here. Basically, this is like a murky and kind of syrupy, super glazed house party turn up of a song. I would definitely feel like this song is very hip and biting. I would definitely feel like, and it has some great R&B snap on here. This is the sort of song that I feel like needs to come out in today's times in terms of like some R&B snap just for like a single. This just has the ferocious bite. It's probably one of the more vicious songs I can think of by The Weeknd. I mean, obviously he outdid this song with like his later albums and some of the songs that hit #1, like The Hills and Starboy and some of those type ones that he's effectively kind of done. But this definitely, for a free mixtape song, this is a pretty good steal to kind of get here, just to be able to see the quality behind it. The melodies are just off the chain. This is very murky, and this has like a demonic type tone of voice as far as those pitches gonna happen. Just really feels like R&B on like some chopped and screwed type shit as far as that particular pitch kind of happens. It's very swamped in just the aspect of just that forlorn kind of malaise, but it's really clever, just the concept of how this affability. There really wasn't much like this around this time in late 2011, so it's an excellent type of appeal. Real superb kind of single for the early 2010s, I'd have to say. But yeah, that's the concept about this particular mixtape. So out of the 9 songs on this mixtape, the only real song I don't recommend is just the EXO song / The Host. So to talk about that one, this one I just didn't really comparatively like the particular production on there. It just felt a little bit like it kind of had like a creeping kind of production on EXO as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's a real kind of this night groove as far as those pitches can happen. I feel like these particular production pairs just work better on like Echoes of Silence, the title track, and Next. It's kind of like a combination of like the moroseness of Echoes of Silence, the title track, with like a little bit of like the R&B kind of single snap of initiation, but it just didn't. I feel like maybe if EXO had just been like a song on its own and not had the host as a part of it, I might have liked that one a little bit better. But I don't know, just didn't have the same draw as like the affability behind it. I mean, that might be a song that could possibly grow on me, but for the time, I didn't see it as much of an almost song either. I'd have to say it was just kind of the concept. That's the only real pitch about it. So yeah, this mixtape's gonna get like a 9.75 out of 10. That's the standard edition. Now the deluxe edition or the trilogy edition, that's from 2012, that has the extra song Till Dawn, Here Comes the Sun on there. That's another song that I just kind of felt like that one was just kind of an in-between venue type song. I feel like that had some of the energy of like, trying to think of a song on here that had like basically a little bit more vanilla and plain type production type fare of a song like Same Old Song or something, that relative pitch, or not quite as, not just, it feels like songs like Outside and Same Old Song, but just not as good and quite as emphatic as those particular productions. I'd say it's just kind of an in-between plain type one, just within the pitch behind it. So that was just one I didn't recommend as much. Really, I want to say for the most part, every single one of the 3 new songs that were on the trilogy album, it's not really terribly that much of a fashion to go ahead and purchase the trilogy album from 2012. I want to say I didn't recommend the song from Thursday or House of Balloons when I reviewed those products back in the day. Back in 2023 and earlier this year, I'd have to say it was just kind of the concept I look after it. I still do feel like downloading these 3 mixtapes, for the most part, you're basically getting out of 27 songs, I'd probably say out of all the songs I recommended out of these trilogy mixtapes, out of 27, it's probably pretty close to like 24 or even 25. So that's a pretty good pitch. 24 out of 27 is a sheerly excellent. This would say that trilogy would be like a 10 out of 10 just with that, but it's just kind of the concept. And an individual package is a 9.75. But yeah, there's definitely some excellent music on here. Echoes of Silence, the title track, is a very sheer one. This is one that I go way back with. Definitely appreciate this one. It's like a vastly haunting kind of night malaise, I would feel like. Definitely like some after hours retire to kind of get here. Just the concept of just unwinding for the night and just kicking back, just some good chicas kickback and like after hours kickback as far as those pitches can happen. Just excellent type concept of that. And this is a great song for winter. I would definitely feel like this, the moroseness of this particular type of appeal. This really has that Dracula-like bite. It's a good concept to see that the Weeknd kind of did like some moody kind of emo rap or emo R&B as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is very ahead of the times. There just was not stuff like this. You know, other R&B artists, Trey Songz, T-Pain, Usher were not really doing things at this particular pitch. So the Weeknd definitely had his own lane here. Even Drake, who was very similar to the Weeknd around this time and helped push along the Weeknd as far as those pitches can happen. He was not doing this either. It's just a differential concept. No one really had this sort of moody moroseness around this time. This is definitely like a breath of fresh air and just an overall just sheer kind of bite that just kind of had the aspect of just really trying something that just nailed it. This is very awesome aspect about this particular song. Definitely one of the best on the mixtape. Is the melodies on the song are particularly excellent. It's a real just easy kind of going one, just for like some winter respite as far as that kind of goes. Another one that has some winter bite about it would be Next. It's like a good, moody, and morose companion to the title track, Echoes of Silence, I would feel like. There's definitely some cold weather bite to kind of get here, and this is just like some dark, this song has some dark fanciness about it. It's an excellent type pitch here to kind of get with some of these. Great 1-2 punch. So Outside is a pretty quality one, as well as like an exuberant kind of night venue glamour. I would feel like this feels Eastern. It has in particular definitely like the concept behind that. Just a differential type production type flair. Just really has some pizzazz about it. Just feels real good vibe. Just overall good vibrant type appeal that just has a lot of affability behind it. Just a differential. It's kind of gives some pizzazz to like the nightclubs as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's not the strictly kind of EDM or synthy type buzz type stuff that was kind of going on in 2011, 2012 as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a good affable type one that just feels great in like casinos and pitches like that, just looming kind of night venues and dance clubs as far as those pitches kind of happen. This has a very strong, this like definitely some looming outs, I would have to say, and it's like a strengthy gem to kind of get here. Just really like the appeal behind it. I mean, the Weeknd always has like some strengthy R&B. He's definitely a powerhouse R&B artist, even in like his free mixtape days. I'd have to say, it's just the concept. Real good steal of this sort of songs like this are free. I'd have to say, just real powerful type aspect. Another one like that would be Same Old Song. Not quite as looming as that. Same Old Song's not quite as looming as Outside, but this is like a basic vanilla kind of night venue marinade. I would definitely feel like it's like a chit chat and appreciate the surroundings type tune to kind of get here. I like the Juicy J excerpt at the end. It's a pretty good pitch. This is basically like just some simple kind of strip club and nightclub type. It's like some simple kind of strip club and nightclub type energy just kind of get here where you're not just amongst the night standing on couches getting crunk crazily, I'd say, but just the concept of just sitting on the couch, maybe you have a drink in your hand, just some chicas nearby, some pitches like that, just what I'd say, just standard type fare, just to be able to get some of that and just kind of have simple kind of kickback just within the vibe behind it. It's really like I mean, I won't say this is simp music, but it is just basic kind of chit chat, just real marinate and just kind of simplistic kind of plain type music for like a nightclub, just without all the standard furor and craziness. I'd say just some basic kind of ambient kind of energy. Good concept. Really do appreciate this. Another nice vibe just to particularly get, and it's another nice vibe to particularly kind of get with the affable type vanilla type feel of it. Montreal is a pretty nice one. It's like a nice skeletal kind of dark arena R&B. I would feel like this gives like 80s city night quick traverse vibes. I would definitely have to say it's overall pretty hot, red hot type song to kind of get. This one just feels like something that would have been ripped out of the 80s. It's a pretty good pitch, just that pounding drum that kind of reminds me of like In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins and pitches like that. This the drum pattern, not necessarily like the beat backdrop that's on that particular song, but definitely like the drumming that just is like the staccato, just type skeletal type production on there. Just had some real good 80s, just cold wintry night type feel as far as those pitches kind of happen, just embracing like the December air and some of those high pitches. Real good concept for that. And then a lot of these I'm going to recommend further are just very similar ones to Montreal. I'd have to say just some good pitches. Like the first song you hear, Dirty Diana, is a pretty nice one. Apparently this was a Michael Jackson song, which is an interesting type pitch. Just wonder which particular album that was on. It's like a pounding kind of tensive night commerce. I would have to say it's like biting in the winter. It's like a pounding kind of tensive night commerce. I would definitely have to say it's like some biting kind of in the winter air enjoyment. I would definitely have to say, and this has a good pace about it. This good concept. A lot. This feels skeletal. Definitely like some arena R&B. I'd have to say just a good concept. Kind of get some of these. Just really appreciate like the overall. This feels like the bravado behind some of these. It's very much winter air and excitement. I'd have to say just within the concept. Some traverse kind of in here as well. Some good commerce and just winter traverse as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just appreciating like November, December, January, just within that aspect, just would have to say. It's kind of amidst kind of, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say this is makeshift, but I suppose it kind of could be just within the product of it, but it just feels like you got something more just recreational in mind, is something more of like, but it doesn't really feel like this going to like a house party or something simple like that. It just feels like there's something a little bit more just within the aspect of just really having some thrills and just getting ready to have like a 10 out of 10 kind of crazy night, more so than just simplistic kind of routine type stuff. There's just a lot of strengthiness about this particular project. It's definitely like some power R&B type here, I'd say. A good concept for that. But in the fall is another one that's like these, Montreal and then Dirty Diana, I'd have to say. So the fall is basically like an overhead kind of tensive night venue glitz, I would have to say. Flashy kind of night. I would definitely feel like it reminds me of like Heaven or Las Vegas from like the Thursday mixtapes where those pitches kind of happen. This is definitely like some great melodies on this. Once again, the Weeknd just comes through with these melodies on here. Just really has like the aspect behind this project is definitely some wintry type bite to kind of get on here. Definitely good appeals, but the melodies on this are just on point as far as those pitches kind of happen. The Weeknd usually knocks out the melodies pretty effectively as far as that would particularly kind of goes. A lot of these are just singable just to kind of replay back as far as that would kind of happen. It's really Apple type ones just within the mixtape type era. This is really, I mean, this many blockade of hits, it just makes sense that this was supposed to be for retail as far as those pitches kind of happen. But unfortunately, the thing about it is once it was for retail, the 3 new songs on there were not that Apple, just within the purpose behind it. But it just kind of has the thing. But so yeah, that's the product about this particular mixtape. So I'm going to give this mixtape, like I was saying, like a 9.75 out of 10. The social score I'll give a 10 out of 10 just because of the appeal behind it. Thing that I feel about this particular product, there's definitely some ones on here just for like that. There is at least one house party song on here, an Initiation, and I feel like there's a little bit of that particular aspect. There's definitely like some good night venue type songs on here, like Outside and Same Old Song, that have some of that basic kind of energy, not sheer full-blown craziness. But even then, I want to say throughout these mixtapes that the Weeknd dropped in 2011, there wasn't really like any sheer kind of carnivorous type ones. I think he does get a little bit revved up and energized on Initiation, but that's just kind of more of like a murky kind of brooding type one, this rosy type, this more rousing type one, more so than carnivorous. But I look after it like there is some night venue energy. There's also some winter brush of just being out and about. Songs like Montreal, Dirty Diana, and the fall have some good winter outing type brush. It's kind of have like some commerce just in like the cold air, November, December pitches like that. And then I'd have to say the Echoes of Silence and Next are like some good haunting, just type after hours kickback and like retire as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a good type of peels for just flirty after hours vibes as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's just really look after the winter bite of this project. Just has some sheerness about it. So so the social score is definitely a 10. In terms of the future, like the Weeknd has dropped a couple new songs. Apparently he has a song out with Playboy Cardi, some of those type pitches. He's got a new project coming out. I forget what it's called. I think it's like has something to do with like Hurry Tomorrow or something like that. Some of those type pitches, excellent type stuff. It's capping off the trilogy of Dawn FM, and the other one I forget what I think it's like the one that came out in 2020. So I know about these. It's a good pitch. The Weeknd's one who continues to dominate. He definitely had one of the songs of the decade with that song that he did during the COVID pandemic, which I forget what that one, Flashing Lights or Blinding Lights, that particular song. So some good enough pitches. I'm going to get to some more of these Weeknd projects here, like Kissland and Beauty Behind the Madness, some of those type pitches. Definitely will get to some of these. But yeah, this is virtually on the cusp of it. I mean, it might as well be a classic mixtape, but just I'd say 9.75 is really nothing to shake a stick at or really have any complaints about. So that's just kind of the concept. That's the sheer bite of these particular mixtapes. So it's just a good way to cap off this trilogy and basically download all three because they're all classic and just overall factual trend setting type ones. And this one's especially biting for winter commerce.